Now, we've got a question, is what is the best position to assume if trapped in a plummeting lift? Now, you're a bit of an expert on this, in the sense that you were once trapped in a plummeting lift and you've survived, so you must have had some benefit. Would you like to describe what happened to you and what happened?
Yes, I hope it will be helpful to people. It was an industrial lift in which I happened to be in the lift with 2 large containers full of chewing gum.
Right.
And so there wasn't much room in it.
No.
3 people, including the lift operator.
Yeah, and the chewing gum.
And the chewing gum. The lift simply gave a gurgle and then dropped like a stone. Everybody's worst nightmare. And we simply plummeted towards the pit at the bottom. And my legs were slightly flexed, so that when we actually struck the bottom, I didn't have my legs braced. And from what I understand subsequently, at least, it's not a good idea to brace your legs because, well, they may frankly be driven up into your abdomen, and I think that would be very unpleasant. But the other thing which I think is important, there are 2 other factors involved, or possibly 3, but 2 important ones are, first of all, the sheer terror. Secondly, the shortage of time. So any more elaborate stratagem for survival, you only have about 32 feet per second. Very few seconds. In my case, I would probably think the first impact was about 3 seconds, maybe 4. So
you're just lucky that your legs were a bit relaxed rather than braced?
Yes, I was leaning on top of the chewing gum, in fact. I think because my legs were slightly bent.
It's handy to carry a few huge packs of chewing gum than to lean on if you're going to go into a lift.
No, I think just flex your legs. If you're thinking of jumping up in the air...
that's what people often say.
Yes, well, they're quite wrong, because you don't have time for that. And anyway, if you did, you don't know when you're going to hit the bottom. So you might get it entirely wrong. Thirdly, if you've got time to think of something like that, you've already fallen far too far to survive.
You might just think in time to jump up, and you might... Maybe the theory is that if you're up in the air, then you've got a bit of slack to the system to take some of the impact. What happened when you hit the ground?
It was an enormous sense of relief, a tremendous crash. And I thought, very briefly, thank goodness it's all over. Unfortunately, it is not. And if anyone cares to look at the bottom of lift shafts, you will see, in my case, it was a series of springs designed to absorb the impact of a lift dropping. And in this case, the springs had the effect of propelling the lift back up the shaft. So you're then in a very strange and odd position of renewing the whole experience.
How far does it go, though?
Almost as far as you've previously dropped. It seems like that. You then come to a moment at the top of your rise of sort of weightlessness.
That's the time to get out, if you can, of course.
You can't. And so you have to relive the whole thing again. It's an instant déjà vu. And after about 5 impacts, you finally come to rest if the lift is robust enough. And then you can worry about the next problem, which is how you're going to get out.
Did you manage to keep your legs nice and relaxed on each of the subsequent impacts?
I think so. But to tell you the truth, the terror factor is very important, and you can't think or know what you're doing at any... You're just holding on to anything at all.
And what happened to you? Were you badly injured as a result of this, or could you walk away from it?
No, I walked away from it. I scrabbled out over the top of the chewing gum.
The chewing gum, I assume, was all right. It wasn't sort of chewed up by the whole experience.
The lift was a bit bulgy, frankly, and I simply shouted for help through the lattice gate. It's an open gate on the lift.
And what about the other guys who were in the lift with you?
They were on the floor, and I simply assumed that they were dead. Therefore, I didn't bother them. I suppose there's sort of selfishness about terror, really, strikes one.
Did you inquire afterwards if they were dead, or...?
Oh, yes, they climbed out later.
Oh, fine.
I thought they'd simply fainted from terror.